that certainly the people of Zimbabwe cannot watch their liberators becoming their oppressors and do nothing about it. So when you look back the last 10 years, we all know that we have had to experience personal and a collective loss. But you know what? The people have not given up. The people are as confident as they were when we launched this movement. They have endured repression, they have endured traumatic experiences, they have endured loss of loved ones, they have endured injuries. And it reminds me, I think around 2007, 2008, when I temporarily relocated to Botswana and I came back, my first port of call was to go to Avenues Clinic. And the whole clinic was reeling with pain. I remember confronting this young man with the whole side taken off. But when he saw me, he started smiling. And he says, President, this is only an injury to my body, but my spirit remains with you. And he started smiling. I went to the next bed, and I saw these two brothers who had lost a headman who was their brother from tuition. And all they could say was that, President, we are here to be treated. We are going back to finish this thing. I saw a lady, Munota's Mazmaya Mfuguri, who took all her clothes off and showed me the wounds of being beaten to pulp by Zanu PF. But she was smiling. I'm saying this just to remind you where we have come from. I can't even talk of people who have lost loved ones, thousands and thousands. I can't even talk of property. Pachedu Wamlona lost everything. But he's here with us. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because of the distance from home. Some of you may have a very remote understanding of the struggles of the people back home. And I'm appealing to you that this party was formed with values. Values of love, values for solidarity, values of commitment, values to seek justice in our own country, in our own motherland, and values to see the country free again. Those are the values that bind us. We are not bound because we like each other or we love each other. But we are bound by the commitment to the people's cause and the people's project, which is to see Zimbabwe smile again. So when we talk about the party here in outside, it is sad to see discord. It is sad to see, Chairman, lack of cohesive program, and lack of thought, and lack of strategy. Because to expect those peasants back home to fight a struggle alone without anything, I think you are expecting too much. They can only do so much. ZANU is violent. It knows no other culture but violence. But in spite of its violence, it has failed to suppress the spirit of the struggle among Zimbabweans. It has failed. So I come here today to say Examine your conscience. Look at what you are doing, not only as an individual, but as a collective. I hear you are saying there are problems. I'll talk about them. I'll deal with those problems so that when we leave this room, we are in no confusion. We are in no doubt as to what we are supposed to do.
Thank you.
You are aware, all of you, that we won the 2008 election. But we did not win power. We were forced to go into a marriage of convenience, of sharing the bedroom without sharing anything. But on hindsight, I must say that it was a strategic decision to save the people. Our country and our people were in a desperate situation. The country was on a precipice that if we had not entered in this compromise, the outcome today would have been totally unpredictable. So, it has been a worthwhile experience over the last 2.5 years. And I think that over the first 2 years, I think we made notable progress in addressing some of the social and economic needs of the people. Stabilizing the economy. Zimbabwe today stands with the lowest rate of inflation in the world. Bringing food and the basic necessities to our people. Opening hospitals, opening schools. Today we stand having printed 13 million textbooks in our primary schools. We are going to print another 6 million textbooks for our secondary schools. Every little hospital has got ARVs and it's functioning. There is water, there is sanitation. That is a good record that the inclusive government has registered. But we have got problems. Sometimes we have frustrating moments where we actually think that perhaps we have to think twice. We've not been able to implement fully the global political agreement because ZANU-PF looks at this GPA as an instrument of regime change, while the MDC looks at this instrument as a transition to transfer of power. And you can understand why both political parties have now resorted back to their camps. Not in collaboration, but in competition. And the results are there for everyone to see that there is stagnation at the moment because of policy discord. But we are very aware why we went in. It is to provide a soft landing transition to a free and fair election. That's the goal. SADC has now drawn up a roadmap which says that the constitutional process must be completed, a referendum must be conducted, and then only after can we have an election. It is my estimate that for these processes to complete, we would put about 6 to 8 months in advance. I foresee an election in the third quarter of next year. Maybe between June, July, August, September next year. Because as we stand, we are only at the drafting stage of the Constitution. We will then go to the all stakeholders conference, convene the referendum, and move like that. But as soon as there was an election talk, violence raised its ugly head. And we have to be ready for that. We cannot afford to have an election under the same condition. So we have, with the hindsight of experience, we have to create an environment which will produce a credible and legitimate outcome. And hopefully, it is not doubtful who will win that election. But as I said earlier, winning an election is one thing. Winning power is another. We know who have been the stumbling block in the whole transition in Zimbabwe. It is the military. Because Mugabe was saved when he lost the election in 2008, he is beholden to the military establishment. And until we have a proper national security reform, or security sector reform, we will fool ourselves and say, once again we'll win an election and not win power. So there are measures, and we insist that there has to be comprehensive security sector reform before an election can be conducted. We insist that there has to be guarantees for a non-violent election.